All right, and we are live. Okay, we're just getting set up here. How's it going, William?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Although,
Good.
as you heard the second ago, there is some birds outside deciding they're going to fight.
Yeah.
So someone must have thrown bread out or something. I don't know. They're going crazy.
Yeah, it's those it's a little taste of Scotland for everybody. The birds
Yeah.
of Scotland, right?
Seagulls. I think we have seagulls everywhere, right? Nobody
Yeah.
likes them.
So you're by the water, right?
Yeah, kind of close, just down the hill.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm just checking. It looks like we are live on YouTube. Looks like I guess it would go out to X, right? Are we up on X?
I'll check that.
Hmm.
X, I think, just links to YouTube.
Yeah, maybe. I thought it actually did a live, showed a live, but it doesn't look like we are up there. Eh, guess that's all right. Cool. So, welcome everybody to the Equalized Digital Accessibility Checker Change Log live stream. It's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah, just calling it the changelog.
The change log. There you go. Cool. I'm just making sure all our screens are set up and that we're good to go. Cool. Let's see. Cool. All right. Well, if anybody joins, we got a chat going here, and we're happy to field any questions anybody has as we go along and talk about the latest features in Accessibility Checker. So, if anybody watching this is is not aware of what Accessibility Checker is yet, Accessibility Checker is an automated accessibility scanning plugin to help your WordPress website become and stay accessible. So it's not just an automated accessibility scanner, it's also a fixer. Sometimes we don't lean into that enough, but the accessibility checker actually does provide a good set of automated fixes for your website as well to help you instantly implement accessibility fixes to your website. Accessibility Checker is a full-featured free plugin that you can get from equalizedigital.com/accessibility-checker. You can also get it from the WordPress.org plugin repository. We do have a premium plugin that adds premium features such as scanning archive pages and global site-wide administrative tools. We have add-ons for our Pro plugin. We got Audit History, which allows you to check your accessibility uh, stats over time. We have a multi-site add-on that allows you to manage all the accessibility checker plugins at the network level of a WordPress multi-site install. And we have the exporter add-on that allows you to export your accessibility checker data to CSV files. So today we are focusing on one major feature, and because it's such a big one, I think it constitutes its own episode, and that is archive scanning. I feel like we should have a drum roll. We need some sound effects, William.
Yes, I was looking at doing the sound effects, and
Yeah.
hotkeys not so good on my system.
That's right. We need a soundboard so we can do drum roll,
Yeah.
archive scanning, and yeah. I don't have a drum roll, but I could put my thinking cap on, my WCAG thinking cap on.
Every time I say that, it just reminds me of the ACDC logo.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. For
Yeah.
that's a descriptive. We can give a descriptive of it. It's my hat is just like a trucker hat, and it says WCAG on it, WC, and it's got like a lightning bolt, AG, so it's like ACDC. That's exactly what it is, William. You caught you caught the reference, and and
Shows how old I am.
that's right, and it's kind of fitting for me a little bit because I work in accessibility, and I like to rock and roll, and I don't know if we've talked about this, William, but you like to rock and roll as
I
well.
do. Yep. Yep.
So um, it always seems to be that people in our space also have hobbies like being musicians and playing guitar.
Yeah, but people tend to have taste in our industry, right?
Oh, there you go.
Got a lot of flack from that one.
Yeah, cool. So just as a kind of like overview of archive scanning, what do we mean when we say archive scanning, William?
Yep. So WordPress includes various pages which are effectively lists of your posts or page content or various archives of content of various types. And when we say archive scanning for right now, what we primarily mean is taxonomy terms and custom post type archives, not date archives, not author pages yet. So we are primarily talking about term archives just for the moment.
Right. Well, term archives and actual archives. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like custom post type
Custom
archives.
post type archives.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So, and an archive is not typically a page that you create in WordPress. It's a page that's kind of dynamically created with a loop, right?
Yes. Generated on the fly. It doesn't exist as its own database entry or really effectively OWL. It is fully dynamic,
Yeah.
runtime generated.
Right. And that's why accessibility checker up until this point actually has not included archives, because the way that the accessibility checker was architected was based on the post ID system, right? And archives don't have a post ID, and when your application is built exclusively on post IDs, that creates quite the challenge. And I think we'll talk about the challenge a little bit later. But before we jump into that, I think it would be good to do a demo.
Yep. We can do some demo.
Okay, let me pull up your screen, William. Are you good to do demo?
Yep. So this is our general settings page. So we actually have two new settings here. You can see them. I'll talk a bit more about what these exact settings do after we, do a quick showcase. But yeah, effectively these are the two new settings. This is how we this is how we enable the archive scanning effectively. So without this box checked, archives will never be scanned. Without this box checked, smart sampling is enabled. When this box is checked, all terms will get checked, which could be a significant load on your server or on your full set scan time effectively. So
Yeah.
what we try and do, well, first off, we'll say that by default this is disabled. So
Yeah.
we didn't want to introduce a brand new feature which could increase your full set scan time, increase your overall scores, or decrease your scores, as the case might be, by having this new feature enabled by default. So it is off by default. You do currently have to come in and turn this on. Perhaps for new installs, we will enable this by default. But if you update and receive this feature, it is off.
Yeah. And the reason we did that was for I mean, you did a good job explaining it, but just to add to that, like we didn't want the stats to like greatly increase without you enabling it and causing I know a lot of customers and users of the plugin work really hard to get these scores down and to resolve all the accessibility issues, and we didn't want to for you to come in and all of a sudden, oh, my issues have gone up 10 or 20%. And
Yeah, well, have a look at this, 13% on my test site, which is intentionally bad. But this score was in the 60s before enabling the archive scanning. And
yeah,
this could happen to the average website, because if you've been scanning standard post types, you'll have been fixing issues, and this number will be, ideally high, quite high. But when I have not been fixing archive pages, and as such, this number is horrific for a typical site. Hopefully, your sites are not this way.
right. But yeah, I mean, for a future update, I think it is a good idea to consider having that enabled.
There for new installs,
Yeah,
enabled by default.
cool. So, uh, being a life a long time user of the plugin, I can tell that things don't look the same here. Uh, the order of the settings have changed a bit, and this may be even more noticeable if the Pro plugin is disabled. And I think that also bears mentioning too, that the archive scanning comes with the Pro plugin, not with the free plugin. Is that correct, William?
Yes, that is correct. This is entirely a pro feature
So
for
anybody,
now, or
yeah.
maybe in forever.
So anybody on our individual uh, pro plan and up will get access to archive scanning. So we've reordered the settings, correct?
Yep.
And we tried to group things in a more logical way.
So there is now this new system settings portion, which currently only has the one setting, but this setting used to be here. It used to be second, which, it is not as important as all the other settings. So we have moved that to the end now and grouped other related settings in this first section. So scan settings is in your grouping, which contains these four settings if you have Pro. If you only have free, it is only this setting.
Yeah. Cool. So let's walk through archive scanning and then taxonomy scanning. Can you explain how the plugin is determining what an archive page is, and then
Yes.
yeah.
So archive scan is effectively will search for your website for um, taxonomies, either default taxonomies or custom taxonomies. So this is a custom taxonomy on a custom post type for locations. There also is, generally on most websites by default categories and tags. So these are the taxonomy terms, or these are the taxonomies. Tag is a taxonomy. Terms are what it contains, and any custom taxonomy term is also included as part of this archive scan.
Cool. So the setting there where you talk about like a sampling, what
So
exactly is
the
a sampling?
sampling is semi smart. It isn't the most smart. It doesn't try to find every possible permutation of your term pages, but what it does do is it tries to find the term that contains the most posts, the term that contains the least posts, and additionally a term that contains zero. And least and zero might be the same. So we do try and find 3 terms per taxonomy in when this is disabled. So in the smart scan mode, we will look for up to 3 terms for every one of these custom taxonomies. So like it will try and find 3 categories. If we take a quick look, this one here has 9 items. This one has 30 items. So it's going to use the uncategorized. And any one of these other ones, right? So this one is 1, this is 1, there's 3. So it will pull a 1, a 38, because we have no 0 here. So for this term, smart sampling will determine 2. for this one, Smart Sampling will actually determine 3 items. So it will either pick North America or Canada as the highest term. It will pick Asia as the lowest, which is 3, and then there's a 0, Europe or United States.
Yeah.
So it will pick 3 here, whereas on categories, only 2.
And when you're talking about permutations of term pages, right? So in WordPress, you can use like their templating to make a custom archive page of every term if you see fit, right?
Yes, you can. So I have a lot of custom templates in this test site. So I have one for a whole bunch of various different categories. I have a whole bunch of custom templates for individual pages, and a couple of for individual terms. So post tags, post tag pick. This is a specific post tag. So this taxonomy archive is for post tags, the tags archive. All tags will use this one, aside from the tag named parent, which will use this template. So you can have dozens of permutations of individual templates, even for individual pages. And yeah, these are just the archive templates, which is what the overarching custom post types are. So one for page, post, CPT44, which is one of my test custom posts. So yeah, there is a lot of options for templates in WordPress, how you make them and how they get designed. They can look significantly different.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're certain that your taxonomy template page is the same for all your terms, I think it's safe to leave the sampling mode on. If you know that your theme has multiple term archive pages, then it might be a good idea to turn on scanning all term pages. Correct, William?
Yes, so if yours are significantly different, you're going to need to scan all of them if you want to cover all the potential issues. We are doing our best with the smart sampling to try and find empty term pages, what they're going to look like, full posts, which ideally will have pagination on them that we will be able to check. So yeah, we are doing our best with the smart scan, but if you have significantly different, like as I was showing in this custom theme, I have a lot. I would really need to scan every term to cover these.
Cool. Well, why don't we enable one of those? You want to enable both, or just
Yeah, so I have the default one enabled for the moment.
okay?
Well, not the default, but I have just the smart sampling. And if I visit the scan page and start a new scan, so it says 68 posts, 10 pages, 0 of this custom post type, 0 of this custom post type. So that doesn't mean that these have 0 posts in them effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So 68 plus 10 is 78. We'll see what the number is when I start it. But if you notice here, archive pages will be checked using a sampling. So if I click start, you can see 103 pages or what's being checked. So that's quite a lot more than the 78 actual posts. And the reason why is because as soon as I've clicked that start button, it's processed all of these taxonomies and decided, these are the ones we need to scan. So it is scanning them, and it scans them up front. So first, and on this test site, there will be around 25, 26, something like that. So once this scan reaches that point.
So this takes those custom archive pages and groups them into the scanner, and this does add to the overall scan count and scan time, correct?
Yes, so as you saw, about 25 additional pages on top of what was counted up front. And unfortunately, we can't know up front prior to starting the scan in smart sampling mode what number of archive pages we're going to have. So it's past 76, or yeah, it's past all the archives. So if we visit this new item in our sidebar.
So that can you describe that what you just clicked on?
Yeah, so in our accessibility checker menu, we have a new menu called archive pages. And if you click that, you will see a relatively familiar looking table. This looks like a standard WordPress post table, because effectively that is what this table is. And each of these entries are, we have social note, which is the custom post type. We have some new tag, which is the name of a tag. Critical, which is the name of a term in the mood custom taxonomy. We have United States as a location. So it has found a bunch of different locations for different post types. And yeah, this is effectively the same as just the standard post list. So if we just pick any one of these to visit, provides, it looks almost like the post editor. There is no editor here, but we can see our results. So in the details tab, we have our standard list of items or issues that may have been discovered. We have the summary tab that lists the total. So this post has 8 errors, 3 warnings, and 3 ignored items for a total of 84% of test passes. And if we open any one of these, you can just use these standard links that you will have grown to get used to in the rest of the plugin, like the view on page links. So if I were to click any one of these, it takes you to that issue on the front end. So this is a term page. This isn't any post. This isn't a specific category. This is the specific term, and it contains a bunch of headers.
So if I visited this page directly, we actually now have the front end highlighter accessible to these archive pages.
Correct. This works exactly the same as a standard post content will visit. So, or if you've previously visited, on the front end signed in, you will have noticed the front end highlighter. They are now visible on these terms. Now, not just because the pages have been scanned, but because we now know, we're context aware of this being a scannable page, whereas previously it was not. So yeah, you can use those links. You can do everything that you could normally do. You can clear the issues. You can rescan it, scroll through them, disable the styles. So yeah, that.
Yeah, so we've gone to pretty good lengths to ensure that we didn't create a disjointed experience from what you're used to doing already in Accessibility Checker.
Correct. So this is exactly what you would see on a post. It's our standard widget. It behaves the same way. The one difference that I will call out is that it contains no readability score tab. Because this content will be dynamic, it will change. There is no point in having a readability score that asks you to input a custom description for the content that appears on this page, because the content will change as you create new posts.
Yeah, and archive pages a lot of times are not very content heavy pages.
Correct.
Aside from maybe some headers and some descriptions, but in general, it's not super content heavy. So we opted to kind of not include the readability in that. It's not to say that we can't do it. It's just that right now the UI of that would have to change quite a bit to kind of make it fit in, because like William said, even if we did check the readability, there's really no reason to output a simplified summary on that page unless it really was a unique custom archive page. And in that instance, you would probably need to modify the template to output the simplified summary.
Yeah. I do want to call out while I'm here that, see, if we disable some of these types, and I just scroll down and I save these changes. If we take a look here. Yeah, so now it's only 18 items as opposed to the 25 or 26 that was previously there, because it has removed terms from that was part of these custom taxonomies, which, as these two didn't have any actual posts assigned, was just the custom post type term.
So it does its own cleanup.
As you change things, I mean, I'm not going to say that it does clean up everything based on all the changes, but it definitely changes here. And if we actually disable the entire feature,
Right. But
come back here, all of them are gone.
if custom post type definitions are changed or modified, and what would the issues still be subjected to the same cleanup routines that we have?
Yes, so actually that is a good point. So if this social note, if this is added by a custom plugin on this website, if this custom post type goes away, we do have a cleanup routine that will detect that the item no longer exists. So it will be here when the custom post type goes away, but once a day we will check for orphaned items, and it will detect the issues are orphaned for this specific type, and the issues will go away. The post won't specifically go away itself, or this archive page. So we call this is virtual content pages. This will not go away until you run a fresh scan.
So for the open issues tab and fast track, we've updated the same things. So like when you hit the view on page, and things like that, you will be directed to the archive page as well. But do you still have some archive pages scanned, William?
I've just rescanned.
Okay. Oh, it's running. Okay. So if you go to the open issues and you click on one, how can we tell which ones? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so there's this post type listed. Normally this would be post, page, or whatever the custom post type is, but we also have added this EDAC virtual item, and it is available to be favored here. So archive post pages.
So it acts as if it's its own custom post type, right?
Correct. And effectively to the system, this is a custom post type, but these are all the terms. And, get everything that you expect to works the same as usual. This view on page link. An interesting one is the edit link, because this edit link takes you to the virtual page rather than the edit for here. So this is how you would edit this exact term. This is the issue. And you effectively can't edit this. So maybe that's a change that we want to be making in the future.
I mean, I think it was definitely a little bit of a point of internal debate between the two of us, right?
Yes.
Where to send that, and because there is no edit page for an archive, and so
Yeah, there's just this on the back end, which is the description. But changing this probably doesn't change any of the issues that are discovered.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of had three options: go to the term edit page, go to the archive scanning uh, uh, post page, or not show the edit link, right? So we opted to show you the results page of that, but that is definitely something that is still kind of up in the air if we're going to keep that way. So cool. Is there anything else to demo, or is that the full?
I think that is mostly everything.
Cool.
I guess maybe we can talk about some of the challenges, and I actually do have this open and give a sneak peek behind the scenes. So this is what our data tables look like. Every one of our issues has a row here, and if you see this post ID column, this is the actual post ID that these issues are assigned to. So this is the issue ID, and this is the post ID. So this post is 2077, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of the archive templates.
Yeah,
so previously we couldn't scan this because we require a post ID, and
well,
now we
so
have one.
before you go too far with that, I want to take a little bit of a step back and kind of preface this kind of section of the live stream with, what were the technical challenges of implementing archive scanning, and and quite frankly, what took so long to actually implement it, because archive scanning has been on our roadmap and it's been on our features page on our pricing page as coming soon for nearly 5 years. And and it was definitely like a feature that was definitely needed even at launch, and or something that we had considered a priority even at launch, and it kind of stayed on the roadmap for many years.
Because it was actually quite complicated. There was a number of really difficult challenges
Yeah.
to overcome, which were, nicely solved. Not going to say that it's solved the 100% perfect ideal way, but it is solved in the way that works.
Well, I think that a lot of times us programmers, that's where we can really get into like a paralysis, place, to where like the the system is built on post IDs, right? And it's kind of built on post types. Anyway, we need to have a post type to be able to show your information. We need post meta to be able to store your scan stats, and so everything's kind of built around a post and having a post ID. And then when you bring in something like an archive scan that it doesn't fit the pattern at all. So it's like, what do you do? And there were early this summer, it may even been springtime. William and I sat down, and a lot of times, I mean, I think I was at one of our kids' swim meets, and I was on my phone. I was on Chat GPT, just kind of like coming up with ideas on how we could do this. And I was at the same time, I'm pinging William, like, what do you think about this? And
And I'll be honest, I was not very impressed actually at first,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I still don't know if I'm entirely impressed. But the fact is that this works, and this solves the major technical challenge, which was we require a post ID for everything that we do. And on top of that, we also do require a post type, but
right.
primarily is this ID.
Well, I mean, what were some of the approaches that we actually were considering for? It was almost like
So
I
the strong consideration was effectively building a second copy of this table that did not care about IDs at all. Another kind of idea I came up with was that all of these, custom items that are not got an ID would just be ID zero. And the problem with that is that actually breaks quite a lot of our plugin. I
like
could
the
change this,
like the
and this will
UI.
break.
Is
Yes,
that
it will
yeah,
break the UI. It will also break queries that we have because it's an expectation that zero will never exist. The expectation is that this will always be a positive, yeah,
yeah.
an integer one or above.
So, like any solution that we were kind of coming up with was kind of leading us to major refactors of our UI and all of our queries. You would have to have logic built into every database query that you do on whether or not this is a post ID, or it's an archive that maybe comes from a different post table. We went as I think we went as far as to even kind of like starting to scope out some kind of elastic search to where this is kind of built in the background. And but what you're talking about is complete overhaul of the whole plugin. And
Yes,
what
anything that does away with this expectation that everything will be assigned to a post ID at some point
right.
breaks the entire system as built from the beginning of time. So
So you're showing that these scan results have a post ID, but these are
they
archive
do.
pages that don't have a post ID. So how did we assign a post ID to these?
Correct. So as you can see, there's two types, right? This is a virtual item. This is a standard post. Posts are expected to have an ID. Virtual items do not. And so this one is 2397. So this actually gets its ID because we so if you take a look at this page, interestingly, this looks like a post page, and there's a reason for that. These are posts, effectively posts, so these are virtual posts. So it's the same table because it's the same thing. These are individual posts, and if we edit this one, and you see in the header and the URL, I'm actually going to paste the ID that we were just looking at a second ago. So it's this. It is a category term called child, has 6 errors, 2 warnings, 3 ignored items. So from what I was looking at in the database, an already hidden warning. Oh, so that is actually a relic of me previously having this page scanned. Now that I'm thinking of it. So these will be cleared up. This is a good time to talk about the cleanup. So these are from when I first scanned, when I first started showing the demo. I've obviously cleared these pages. And what issues get found is kind of random because of the weird template system that I've set up. So these issues will get cleared out.
So we do have a CLI command that you can
Yeah,
run to.
we do. Let me see if I can just. So yeah, here's the command: WP accessibility checker, clean up orphaned issues, and it accepts a batch size and the sleep. So I think we did demo this previously. So I'm gonna let's copy this, paste this. Oh, no, as no orphaned issues found. So I'll need to look into why this is. I actually I know exactly why this is. I'm looking at the wrong table. This is the wrong database because I set up a fresh database. So this is my actual live test environment.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the pattern is the same, right?
Yeah,
The tables look the same. Everything now has a post ID. This is the EDAC virtual item, and this is a virtual item. This is technically a custom post type called archives.
So, yeah, which actually doesn't have any public pages or anything like that.
That is public. It has its own two term taxonomies for the item types, which you can see as the name of the taxonomy. So this is like category, topics, moods, and the type, which in this case is all posts. But we could have post type archives, and maybe that leads us on to another thing, that the reason this exists is because now that we have this system of the archive pages or virtual items, we could add other types. Right? We don't just need posts, or maybe we add author archives in the not too distant future, but maybe we also can scan block patterns individually, or element or template pages, or other types of content that aren't WordPress posts as such.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second too. So yeah, what William's saying is essentially we went down the path of the most difficult way to achieve this, which and the reason why a lot of times software engineers would do this, because that is the right way to do it. Like, that is the least intrusive way to do it, and maybe the most performant way to do it down the road, but it doesn't fit into the plugin at all. So we had to come up with something to where we can implement this feature in a timely manner too. We're trying to accelerate our feature output, and we can't spend 6 months adding archive page scanning, right? We essentially need to do it in 3 or 4 weeks. And so we came to this solution. Hey, why don't we make, at first we were calling it a ghost post, but we thought that would be kind of weird to actually put in as a slug. But it's a virtual custom post type that has no public pages generated, and we've modified this a little bit to make sure there's not like edit preview links and things like that shouldn't be here, that actually come stock, and then like bulk actions that don't apply to this. And
so just while we're doing this, like the edit link goes to the standard editor that we previously looked, but the view link actually goes to the actual page. It doesn't go to view this item. It does go to where this actual term exists.
So this allows us to pull in our custom admin columns here, so you can see these and manage these. The other way would have been to like make a custom uh, settings page on every custom post type, and that would sprawl throughout your WordPress admin and kind of create more clutter on all of your custom post types. And we didn't really ask for, I mean, you turn the setting on, so I guess that's you granting permission for us to add that. But what this allows us to do is to group it all in one place, somewhere you can manage it easily, and get to all the same UI that you have available on a standard custom post type. So, and from a technical standpoint, like, this was, I mean, at first we thought it was more straightforward than it really was. It did take a little bit more technical work. Anytime that we're modifying our full site scanner, it is always a very big technical challenge,
Yeah,
because the
so actually, I do want to step in while you say that. So, getting this, what we see here, set up, figuring out what terms we were going to scan, how we discover those terms, but the fact that we ended up with them actually being posts did mean that there was not a great deal of change required to the actual full site scanner. Well, because these became virtual items, like
yeah,
posts effectively, they scan the same as all other items. And you know,
yeah.
to give you an
I mean,
idea, so when I visit this page or I click update, so see if the template for pennant has changed in the background, you can click update and it will rescan it. You
yeah,
won't see the front end, and you can't see any changes because I haven't changed my template, but it is rescanning and resaving these issues because this is just a post as far as the plugin is concerned. I
hmm
mean, it's much more than that for us under the hood, but the plugin doesn't need to care about that
right,
at all, which is the nice option with how we ended up doing this.
yeah. It worked out nice, and it allows us to get this feature out to our customers and users, and
Yeah, and it actually has been out for a couple of weeks now, and we have had no support inquiries as of yet. We have had questions, but
yep.
no, it hasn't broken anyone's site. No one has told us that it doesn't work the way that they want it to.
hmm
So yeah, I think it's been pretty stable. It worked,
yeah,
and it could have broken all the things if we did go ahead and try and refactor the entire plugin to squeeze this in. Things
right.
would have broken that we didn't see.
So just to kind of play, of course, going this route, when you talk about, like, is there a more, is there a better way to do this? But it comes with all kinds of refactoring
I'm
needed.
sure there is a better way of doing
But
this, but it is much, much longer to reach
right,
that point.
this is probably the best way for accessibility checker. But to play devil's advocate a little bit, and to maybe speak to performance and database concerns and things like that, what are your thoughts around, you know, uh, adding custom post types to the post table? Because we've always taken the approach with accessibility checker that everything goes into our custom database tables. But this is the first time that we're kind of, aside from post meta, but this is the first time where we created a custom post type, and we're adding to the post table. Do you have any
Yeah, so
concerns
I
or?
don't have a great deal of concerns on this. So we seen in my test site, right, 68 posts, not very many posts. With all terms scanned, it's about 25, 26 terms. That's maybe let's say I had 100 terms, that would number would more than double. We have scanned with our plugin, we have scanned websites that have hundreds of thousands of posts. I do have a test website that has 200,000 posts, and what I've came to realize is that the number of posts is less of a concern than the size of the post metadata table.
Hmm,
And you know, we generally don't have a lot of control over the size of the post meta table. That is based on how many other plugins someone has installed, what data they get stored. Builder plugins store a lot of post meta, so that sort of is a concern in the same sense, but that is not a concern exclusive to the archive page scanning feature. That's just a general scanner
Hmm.
concern. And that is literally the crux of this, is that we didn't introduce more performance concerns by increasing the custom post type number by one and potentially a few hundred additional posts. Um, the performance concerns that we might have with this feature already existed. We're not making them better. We're not making them worse.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah, that's a good.
And on top of this, with custom tables, you can index them however you want. You can be quite performant with your own custom tables, but you have to manage your own queries and write your own queries and maintain your own queries. And the benefit of this system is that WordPress has, you know, WP query class. It is specifically set up to query posts in the way we have them set up. And there's also the meta query class, which could be a slow query in general, but that also exists and is part of core, and it means we don't need to write those custom queries or be concerned about keeping them performant, secure, or anything like that. Like WordPress handles that out the box.
Yeah.
So
So this implementation is a very WordPress way of doing this, right?
and I do like doing things the WordPress way.
Yeah, same. So this may be a question for myself because I've been around for the full life of the plugin, and I initially created it 5 years ago. And why did this take us so long to implement? If this was like feature number one, like I mean, I can give my take on it a little bit. Is that uh, when you create a product, a WordPress plugin, especially something like accessibility checker that is complex in many ways, that you launch and you quickly learn a lot of things that you need to fix and a lot of things that you need to refactor. And
I mean, in software development, it's almost impossible to imagine the problem you will next face.
right. And archive page scanning may be that pebble that just kept getting kicked down the road.
Up front, I didn't have any concerns when I first seen this as a feature request. I thought, yeah, this will be easy. Turns out, not so much. Not so much at all.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that that I felt like the implementation was easier than the kind of architectural discovery it took to get to where we're at. It took us a long time mentally to wrap our head around, to kind of think. We actually had to. It's weird. There's a WordPress. What we talked about, the WordPress way, right? There's a WordPress way of doing things, and I think for years, the way we thought about this feature was very non-WordPress way of implementing it. And what really got this feature, you know, uh, to production was thinking the WordPress way. Hold on, we have all this stuff. Why am I trying to re-engineer and reinvent the whole thing? Why don't we just try to fit it into the shape we already have? And I think it just mentally took a long time to get there, and it definitely did take a good bit of back and forth between William and I to kind of come to what the solution was. But I think once we determined the solution, the implementation was, I mean, 3 or 4 weeks, and we had the
Yeah, a
feature.
couple of distracted weeks though as well. It would have been maybe 1.5 to 2 weeks of solid development time, I think, to build this because we had pre-scoped. We'd spent several weeks asynchronously coming up with the plan, thinking through eventualities of if we make this decision, what affects other things, what doesn't, and we did end up with a decision that had the minimal amount of side effects. We
Yeah.
built a weird virtual item system, but you know that's the trade-off. The weird virtual item system for me. Steve maybe disagrees, but I think it is a bit weird. But like the trade-off of building that gives us the freedom to handle everything else exactly the same way. Minimal side effects throughout the entire plugin. This did not create like any echo effect or domino effect where introducing this new feature required a whole bunch of changes everywhere. It required a very succinct set of changes in very small places.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've told Steve this, but the very first time I ever tested this plugin was on a site that contained virtual items posts that appeared on the front end that were dynamically generated from a very large array of data in the database. They didn't have their own post IDs. They appeared to be post types, but they were fake, ghost types.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, effectively now those could be scanned with being added to the scannables list on that website. So that would cover, several thousand fake posts on that website that could now feasibly be scanned thanks to this, the way this edition was created.
Yeah, totally. I think I just took over your screen share. Sorry.
Maybe. Well, I'm showing a very boring database,
So, um, yeah, maybe you could pull up our. Do you have the documentation page? We do have a documentation page on our website that you can read through the archive scanning, and just to get a better understanding of that. And you did mention a little bit about author archive pages, how those aren't included now, but I think that this would be a good time to kind of talk about what other possible additions to the archive scanner do we envision.
I mean, the number one thing based on a couple of chats with a few people is that people would like to be able to scan WordPress patterns. And I think that would be incredibly useful to pre-scan a WordPress pattern that might be getting used on a page. Author archives for magazine websites, probably a useful thing. For me personally, and also as the developer of this feature, I think other virtual items that may exist on websites that aren't posts are going to be useful for me personally. Yeah, the world is your oyster with this feature. The way this was built, we can add anything to the scannables list, and so long as it has a renderable page, it can be scanned.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely interested in things like patterns and full site block areas, such as maybe just being able to scan just the header from a block theme or something. That does seem super interesting. And of course, author pages is kind of a straightforward, I think, addition that does wouldn't really require too much work on our end. And we did have a little bit of feedback earlier this week. You got some about being able to choose terms, right?
Yes, terms, people being able to choose what terms, or not the terms specifically, but which taxonomy gets scanned. People might not care so much about categories or tags. They might be same old across an entire website, but some people do have custom terms that appear very different. So they're not used in the same way that taxonomies are listed. They're not archives as such in the sense that they're just a random list of posts. They might contain custom content on those custom terms, and people would like to be able to choose those terms or those taxonomies and exclude others. So yeah, that probably is a not too distant future
Mm-hmm.
enhancement to this system where you will be able to choose what term or what
Yeah.
taxonomy. I keep saying term, potentially what term. I have some ideas as well about whether you can determine the exact terms that will
Yeah.
be scanned or not. And all of this is now fairly trivial to do since the system is in place. Previously, it would be effectively impossible, but the way this works now, we can scan abstract things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And those are definitely things that I think would be great to add. And it's great that some of that's coming from actual user feedback.
Yes.
And because we can guess what archive pages, what custom template archive pages you've implemented, but you know better than us. And if we can just allow the user to choose that may be the best solution. But that does present a little bit of a technical challenge from our end, where uh, you know should that be done globally at the global settings level, or should we bring those kind of arguments into the scanner to where when you initiate a scan, you can actually choose from a set of options of what exactly to scan for that scan, and then that kind of creates a little bit of a domino effect between the site stats. And if you create a custom scan, do those go towards the site stats, or do we create like a site step snapshot from your last scan, things like that? So that does kind of open the door to more stuff for us to think through and how best to implement. But yeah.
Yeah, and on that note, if anyone does watch this video later or anyone is in the comments, let us know how you imagine that this page might include two sets of data, one for the full site, the most recent full summary, and one for a snapshot. Like, does anyone have any specific ideas of what they might imagine a partial site scan would look like side by side with data about a full scan? Because this is a full site scan data. But what if you only ran a site like, one post type, one term, one set of. You might want to only just scan your author pages. You might have scanned the rest of your site. Like, let us know what a snapshot looks like in your mind, because I have a million ideas and I don't know which one that someone might care for more than me.
Yeah, because not everybody that uses accessibility checker is using it with the same exact goals and the same.
And at this point, I think we are effectively more than power users, right? It's very difficult for us to put our feet, like, to pretend we're an average user at this point.
Well, the sites, the global site stats really are reflective of the overarching accessibility of the website, right? How well are you resolving all the issues identified by accessibility checker? And if we allow you to limit that in a scan, then those results get kind of muddied a little bit. And if you're running our audit history plugin, it could look like, I mean, you could have just ran a scan that excludes all the, all custom post types and only scans the posts. And then the next day when the
like that,
audit,
click that, ran 2 pages.
yeah,
I'll have 2 pages worth of issues. This should still reflect the full site, but it would be nice to have a way of reflecting where that 2-page scan is.
right. And it could be as simple as in the scanning that we just allow them to choose to not uh, add those stats into the full site stats. So it's kind of an isolated snapshot. So, but
So I guess right here probably would be where.
yeah, are you showing something on your screen?
But my screen isn't up, so I guess that's fine.
There we go. I pulled it up.
Somewhere here.
So you're
I
on.
guess would be the sense. This is the full site scan page, and I guess here, where it outputs the information, would be the ideal place. Like, this could have a checkbox. You could turn that off.
So you're pointing to the check summary box where it describes what it's going to check. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a bigger discussion, and that's something that we're looking at down the road, and
sneak peek.
So that's archive scanning. It's available now. It's been out for 2 or 3 weeks now, William.
2 or 3 weeks, yeah, I think 3.
So
as of today.
Yeah, if you have accessibility checker, go to your settings and enable it and test it out and see how it works for you. And feel free to pass any feedback on to us. And if you haven't used accessibility checker, I encourage you to download it at equalizedigital.com/accessibility-checker, or you can find it by searching the WordPress.org plugin repository.
Yep. And if you do happen to get it from the repository and you like what you see, we would very much appreciate reviews over there. I love to, hear where people like things. And I would love them to be 5-star reviews, but if they're 3-star reviews and you have issues, I would also like to know about that.
Actually, William's happiness is tied to the number of stars that you give. So
if you give 1 star, I have a sad day.
Yeah, he's a sad William that day. So no, we appreciate any feedback or reviews, like William said, and we look forward to joining you again in 2 weeks to talk about new features. So thanks. See ya.